Please help me welcome Loren Norris.
If you've ever been in that position as a leader, where everything that you think you have planned out, every strategy, every tactic, every relationship, every new idea, every program, kind of fits within a map, with a set of goals, with a strategic plan, short-term and long-term. You know exactly what it is that you want to accomplish. You have your vision statement already clear. It's already disseminated among your organization, and everybody on your team knows exactly what it is and what their role is to see it come to fruition. And then out of nowhere, out of the blue, it seems like perhaps someone not on your team, maybe even somebody opposed to your accomplishment of your goals, finds a chink in your armor. Just that one little place where I want you to think back to the day when we actually wore armor. They used to call it chain mail, not the kind of mail that you send out to everybody else, but it was what you wore over your shoulders. It was made of small fibers of chain, the early days of Kevlar. And these chains laid really close to each other. They were tightly woven together. They were made in such a way that it was really hard, like a very small chain link fence, to run a sword through it. Before that, a lot of armor looked like, it looked like fish scales. And so it was little discs of metal plates that laid over the top of each other. And if one of those got flipped up, there was a vulnerability there where a sword or a spear could go through. If one of those got crushed or knocked off, then it would be called a chink in your armor, meaning it just doesn't stop the weapon that's coming at you anymore. And each of those kind of has its own problem. It's a vulnerability. It's a little weakness. Now, I know you've heard the phrase chink in your armor, but I want you to think back to where it came from, because now it's used in your personality. It's an expression of the character that you have, a weakness in your education, a limitation of your knowledge. Might even be considered your social standing, which could range anywhere from your social score to the who that you are, to the way that you address people around you, the words that you use, the language that you use, the terminology that you use. And each and every one of those can be a place where someone can take advantage of you. I watched a movie last night. I'll think of the name of it in a moment, but it was set in England, set in the UK. Oh, Luther. It's called Luther. And it was about a cop and, his journey to catch a criminal. But the unique art of this criminal was that he would use social media and artificial intelligence to catch people in nefarious types of behavior, or at least untoward types of behavior. And in all honesty, sometimes it was stuff that with the right apology and maybe a small fine, life goes on and nobody really cares. But it was enough of a mistake that the person who was caught in the act was overwhelmed with shame. And so this criminal would extract from them a confession, or he would use them as puppets to commit other crimes. Sometimes it was blackmail, and all he wanted out of them was money. He was extorting a little money, a little power, a little influence. Sometimes what he wanted out of them, though, was them to sacrifice themselves in a public way where people would see them in their own lives. And there were those that enjoyed that process, and they paid dearly to see it happen. But see, it all happened because this everyday nobody, in whatever their world of influence was, maybe they ran a local retail establishment or a bank or something like that, but they didn't want to be shamed for the decisions that they'd made, and so they had a chink in their armor. Their character was about to be exposed. Their flaws, their decisions, their choices were about to be announced to the entire world. And for them, this announcement of their belief system, their ideologies, their practices, their behaviors to the world was, well, frankly, more than they could bear. For them, death was a more suitable option than exposure. Now, I'm going to be honest and tell you, I know shame. I knew shame for many, many years when I was addicted to pornography. I get it. I know it can own you. I know it can push you to the brink of suicide. I know it can do a number on your psyche, on your mental confidence, on your ability to do your job, on your ability to maintain a relationship. I get it. Shame is a big deal. It's a huge tool of leverage. In fact, if you watch political circles at all, you'll notice there are people out there who seems like their only tactic, their number one most effective strategy is to shame you. Now, the irony is the way that they do it is that they put the word shame behind dozens of other ideologies that you might hold, and they accuse you of shaming others. And by so doing, they shame you. That's kind of their tactic. Honestly, it's a squeeze play. A squeeze play. By that, I mean they put pressure on you from multiple sides that any one of them you could push through and think, well, I can get past this. But when they come at you from multiple fronts, the way that your business is branded, your reputation, the choices that you make, even what you find funny. Yes, just this last week, there was a NASCAR driver who basically ended his career by liking a tweet that someone else wrote. He didn't write the tweet. There's not a grand bed of evidence that he agreed with the philosophy of the tweet for all of his life. But in the moment, perhaps alcohol was involved, perhaps not. In the moment, he hit the like button. Oh my gosh, he hit the like button. Yes, he hit the like button. And because of that, his growing career is over. Why? Well, because the squeeze play was enacted. If you don't agree with us, if you don't comply with this, I can't think of a better word than tyranny, of ideologies, if you don't submit yourself, if you don't become a part of this big picture of shaming the wrong people and lauding the right people, then you will be hushed, silenced, shut up, censored, quieted. In fact, if you don't, the first time the pressure is put on you, then the next time the pressure is put on you, it won't just be the social standing that you have, the stigma that you have. It might well be your NASCAR career, your NBA career, your NFL career. It might be the most important thing in your life, your ability to make money. And if that doesn't work, if they pressure you to believe that if you don't say the right words or refuse to say the wrong words, if that's the case, if you like the wrong post or don't like the post they're telling you, if you don't put a black box on your social profile, if you don't promote what they tell you to promote, then you not just might lose your social standing and potentially your career, but whatever money you have made that sits in that little centralized BANK thing, they're now taking those away as well. The first one I was aware of was the convoy of truckers in Canada when they closed their bank accounts. And then they went one step further. They foreclosed on all of their heavy mortgages, only term for a loan for a semi because most of them cost about the same price as a house. But it's a vehicle through which they make their living. It's their money. It's not just a job. It is their business. It's everything they have wrapped up in the ability to transport goods and services from one side of the country to the other. When you take that vehicle away from them, you take away the ability to make money. It's kind of like ending your career, putting you on a layoff, putting you on the bench, taking you out of the limelight, not booking you for any more roles on the acting platform. See, all of these are squeeze plays. They all have one agenda. They all have one purpose, and that is, I don't care what it is that you think you believe. I intend for you to believe what I want you to believe, to do what I've told you to do, to say what I've told you to say, to stand your ground where I want you to stand your ground, not where you think you should stand your ground. In fact, your opinion doesn't really matter. Now, where this really comes down for us as leaders is leadership is influence, nothing more and nothing less. If you have influence, then you are a leader. If you are a leader, it is because you have influence. Those two are inextricable. And because you have influence, your influence is being monitored, and if they can, it will be managed. It's not just a matter of saying, well, how much influence do you have? It is, how effective is that leadership? And the squeeze play, the pressure from all sides, from your reputation to your industry, to your business, to your success, even to your banking. I'm sure soon it will be your family. That was part of the manipulation of the criminal, was that he would tell people straight up, look, you're going to do what I want you to do. I don't care if you are an investigator with the police. You're going to do what I want you to do. I don't care if you are a politician. You're going to do what I want you to do. I don't care if you are a delivery driver. You will do what I want you to do, or. And his list of or was pretty significant. I'm going to release the video to your wife, to your boss, to your friends, to your coworkers, to the media, to the public. Everybody in the world will know what you did. Now it's the social pressure beyond saying, they don't agree with such and such, or, oh, I can't believe they do agree with such and such. And now it's on to, I'm going to make sure you're not liked, welcomed, comfortable, influential, anywhere. And for a lot of people, that's as good as dead. For a lot of people, their self-worth comes from the influence they have. If you're an insecure leader, it might be yours as well. Listen, if you're the kind of leader that just by losing the job you have now, the influence you have now, the culture that you live in now, if that's the end of your hope in life, call me. We need to chat, because that is not the purpose or meaning of your life. It's a function you serve right now, and that's it. It might mean financially starting over. It might mean building new relationships. It might mean changing your worldview. But the reality is, it is not the only reason you're here. And there's great opportunity for you to do otherwise. Seriously, there is. But for those that all of the eggs are in one basket, and that one basket is the job, the career, the influence, the social media influence, the talk show, we've seen them. They get ejected from their high and lofty places and they vanish into the dust. Some literally choose to retire. And they're like, okay, I'm all done. If I can't say what I want to say, then I'll say nothing. Others bounce and they bob and they weave, and the squeeze play pushes them into a platform they weren't used to, but they find a way to make it effective. Others kind of see the squeeze play coming and they think, well, I'm gonna move before the squeeze gets here. Others, I would say 85 to 90% of the American society today, don't recognize the squeeze play at all. They think to themselves, well, I don't have that much influence. I don't have a big social media platform. I'm not a talk show host. I don't have a podcast. I don't do any of that. I work at the grocery store. Nobody cares about me. Well, you'd be wrong. Let me tell you why. See, one of the misconceptions about what's going on in the world today is that we see a whole lot of division, and this division looks like this group of people versus this group of people versus this group of people. And if we look at that in a microscopic way, if we look at it through a backwards funnel, a myopic view, then what we see is only the divisions that impact our personal lives in our small little world. And in many places we think, well, that doesn't impact me at all. It has nothing to do with me. I'm not in either of those two divisions of peoples, so why do I care? But the bigger picture, the further you zoom out, what you realize is that it's aimed at you because those peoples will one day be your allies, your friends, the people who will stand beside you when the peanut butter hits the fan. And if you think back to the 1920s, 1930s, into 1936 through 42, you saw a world where that kind of microscopic division kept one group of people from helping another group of people that only 5 years before they would have called their friends. Let's settle in for a minute. What you're seeing right now, these divisions of, well, you didn't use the right word, and you didn't go to the right place, and you didn't bank with the right people, and you didn't buy the right product, and you didn't do what I told you to do. That observation should lead you to understand you're in a squeeze play. But what they're squeezing out of you is a different kind of thing. See, for the influencer, for the leader, for the country music artist, for the rapper, for the author, for the speaker, for the doctor who has the expertise in anything from health, like fighting cancer or diabetes, or biological diseases that are foisted on the public. Those people, they're out in the front. They're the limelight. They're like the officers of the combat battle. Once they're identified, they're highly targeted and they are highly coveted of the enemy. You may not remember, I actually have somewhere in my office, in my library, a deck of playing cards. 52 of the most wanted leaders of the Taliban, their faces were used in a deck of playing cards. They were highly targeted, highly sought after combatants. These were people with a target on their back or a target on their head. Financially, relationally, they were being watched. Who do they hang out with? Where do they go? Where do they buy their lunch? Where do they go at night? Who's guarding them? Which one of those people are their actual bodyguards? Who's carrying a weapon? What kind of weapon? Who's on oversight? Who's watching them from a long distance and keeping a close eye on them so that we can't get close enough? Because there's a strategy, there's a squeeze play, there's a way to push them out of their comfort zone and into a danger zone. And so it is of all of these physicians, heart doctors, specialists in virology, who have met their demise at a young and unexpected time. I'm not saying anybody's to blame. I'm just saying it seems really ironic that they have significant influence and they have knowledge that not everybody has, and suddenly we don't have access to that knowledge anymore. It's a squeeze play. You think the fact that there are people in New Zealand and all around the world saying we are destroying hundreds of thousands of chicken seeds because the big retailers refuse to buy them. And all the while, the big retailers are telling you there's a shortage on chicken seeds, and now they're $11 to get 12 of them. They're almost $1 a piece. Not because there's not enough of them there, but because it's a squeeze play. Have you been grocery shopping lately and seen just how empty the shelves are? I've been in Cuba. I've been in Brazil. I've been in the Congo. I've been in grocery stores where people fight over one loaf of bread because that's all that came in on the truck. Not because there wasn't any bread, but because the stress and the strife and the anger serves a purpose. The anxiety and the frustration serves a purpose. And the purpose it serves is part of the squeeze play. When you go to get what you've always been able to get on a retail basis and suddenly it's not there, it's a squeeze play. When you try to post something on your social media and suddenly there's new standards for what you can say and what you can't say, and you can be banned, you can be blocked, you can be fact-checked, you could be eliminated, you could be completely removed from your ability to communicate one with another. And then you find yourself sitting in the coffee shop wondering, should I jump into that conversation? Because 6 months ago, those were friends of mine, and I would have been delighted to be involved in the conversation, even though we don't completely agree. And now you realize that could become a violent encounter because they don't just believe, they have the right to say that, but they believe you are wrong for being alive if you disagree. It's a squeeze play. It's designed for social and moral breakdown. It's designed for cultural destruction. And every leader knows you're being pushed away from effectiveness and into compliance when you find yourself in a squeeze play. The financial burden, the financial risk, the relational burden, the relational risk, the social burden, the social risk. It's a squeeze play. It's intentional. You don't want to think they're coming after you. But if you're a leader, it's because you have influence. And because you have influence, you're a leader. And that makes you a target. And it doesn't matter how you lead. Maybe you just tell stories on Saturdays to the kids in the library. The wrong kind of story, you're a target. Maybe you just make country music but again, the wrong kind of music and you're a target. Maybe you just make rap music, the wrong kind of music and you're a target. Why? Because all of these are ways to influence through messaging. Like that little sign behind my head, lead the narrative or be led by it. Leaders who have influence, the ability to tell a story, to communicate to others, with or without the tools of social media, they're a threat to those who would like to bring down society. Oh, and you might be asking, what makes me, everyday Joe, car wash guy, grocery store clerk, nanny, what makes me a threat? Why would they be after me? What's the squeeze play with me? You have one thing, if you're an American, that makes you a threat, and that is you have free speech. You have the right to defend yourself. You have the right to your own possessions. Those weren't given to you by the government, but they're supposed to be protected by it. And that makes you a threat. If you're feeling the pressure of a squeeze play, it's because you have influence. And that influence may be in your local circle. It might be around the world. But that influence makes you a leader, and that makes you a target. And you will find yourself in a squeeze play to push you from being an effective influencer and leader into a compliant one. My recommendation is prepare for the squeeze and stand strong anyway. I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day. Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.
Hi, my name is Christina Knowles, and I just got done taking Jay Loren's Storypower Masterclass. It was amazing. I took away so much information. One of the things that I really enjoyed being formally trained in media many years ago is the call to action. I will use that with every speaking engagement, and I'm so grateful that Loren just spoke truth into his teachings, and he is a true professional. And I know this might sound weird, but I've been taking certifications in different classes over the years, and Loren is not boring. I can't even believe I got here at 9, and then the class went by so fast that I was like, it's time to go already? And I was shocked that it was time to go already. So it's an awesome class. You're going to enjoy it, I promise.
Loren is a master teacher on storytelling, and I learned so much. I'm really going to have to sit down and go back through everything, and I think I might have to have some more coffees with Loren, but it was totally worth my